Yeah, she's wearing approximately 18 necklaces.
She has a costume jewelry to clothing ratio of 50-50. And that's admirable. She's like a beige Mr. T. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Christmas time is here. That's right. We're talking about Amityville for Christmas on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, anyway. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from my bi-coastal Amityville locations. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we are dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. And we're going to unpack all the goriest of details of Amityville 4, The Evil Escapes, in the hopes that a family's untimely or plumber's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes we might make at their expense. I don't think anyone in the family dies. But of course, there's only one person I trust to make sure if I cut myself on a crazy looking lamp at a yard sale, I'll listen to her when she says, get a fucking tetanus shot. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
God damn it, you stole my joke.
We can take it again and I can come up with something different. I didn't have that written down.
I was gonna say that I have my big weird creepy sausage finger waiting to begin.
See, now you've stolen my joke because I'd written down that her finger starts to look like a Jimmy Dean breakfast sausage. So listen, this is the problem with our weird mind meld, where we do not consult one another before we talk about the movie. We end up saying the same things in our notes. So this was my first time watching Amityville, The Evil Escapes, but it didn't sound like it was your first time.
No, it was my third time.
Oh my God. Gina, I don't feel like you have a ton of spare time.
No.
It's wild to me that this is something you've gone back to multiple times.
This is not even the first time I've done a podcast about it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Are you serious?
I have been on our
oh my God.
I've been on our friends Brian Skinner and Josh Hollis's podcast talking about it a couple years ago.
Okay. Yeah, so this was all new. I had no idea what to expect. I knew it was about a lamp. And I also knew that the lamp one and the clock one are ones that people are like, it's actually like a decent movie. What I didn't know about it, that it was a TV movie that they just added a bunch of blood to make it an R-rated release on home video.
Yeah, I actually don't know that I think both versions are on YouTube. I don't know if I've actually seen the full gory version, but it is interesting to note that there is a much higher body count in this one than there is in the first one, which is not hard because the body count in the first one, unless you're counting the flashback sequence, is 0. There's nobody dies in the first movie, and yet a lot of people die in this one.
Right. I mean, there's an actual body count. Obviously the second one is about the 74 murders, so that one has a definitive body count. What you don't know about that one is it's going to end up being like an exorcist thing between a gay couple who both happen to be priests, and they're like, we want to go camping, but we can't. We have to exorcise this kid. And then the third one, one person dies.
I think there are a couple die. There are a couple deaths. There's is the chubby bald guy. There's Candy Clark, and there's a right, and then there's a guy who goes into the devil's jacuzzi and lets out that really funny girly scream.
And then Tony Robbins' daughter dies.
Yes.
On a boat, just like drops dead for funzos. I don't know. No one ever explains why that happens. It's just like, we went out on a boat and we came back with someone was dead. Oops. Sorry about that. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with the house. Certainly, there's no indication that the ghost inside the house knows how to drive a boat. But God damn it, Gina, a ghost knows how to drive a fucking van in this movie.
He knows how to
van.
a ghost, a haunted lamp that knows how to make telephone calls.
Haunted lamp that when it transfers its evil power, it sucks up the evil power from the Amityville house, and then when it delivers it to the California house, the little plug cord balloons like when Popeye would eat spinach, and it would go in a round ball from his throat straight to his muscles. That's how it delivers its evil package from one place to the next.
This is the point in the Amityville series where they kind of gave up on, well, we can't keep having people move into this house. Now, granted, this one kind of retcons the end of the third one, because the end of the third one, the house just literally blows the fuck up.
I mean, there's some debate as to whether or not this takes place before Amityville 3, because not too many of the items are still left.
Right.
In the house
so this is like, in this one in particular, like there's no mention of the Lutzes, because by this point, like, George Lutz was like, yeah, no, I will sue anybody that uses our name with anything. That this is my cash in. You keep away from it.
Right.
So there's
you're stealing my con.
Right. So it's just
it was his refrain.
It just says, a family was here and they left all their belongings behind. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But so at this point, because they couldn't keep rehashing, another family moves into this house and weird shit happens. So now it's determined that, that somehow the evil manages to project itself into individual items in the house. So you've got a lamp, you've got a clock. I think there's a dollhouse one. So it's sort of like, the scenario I thought of the music the first time I watched this was like thinking how, like, the TV and Poltergeist had originally been in this house, or you've got like what if evil goes into a can opener? How does an evil can opener work? Every item has a little touch of evil to it.
And I think the element of real estate horrors tends to go away here because no one's getting anything for a steal. And as a result, it's kind of like, it's just like owning a house kind of sucks, because everything will be going fine, and then all of a sudden sewage is coming out of your faucet. Like, that's something that can happen. We did not know in this house that the pipeline that was running water into our house, our main water pipeline from the city, was made of PVC until we happened to dig it up. And oh my God, that's not legal. So that became a giant headache. Like, that's shit that happens all the time.
Oh yeah. I mean, the mere act of owning a home is a nightmare in and of itself, beyond, before you get to ghosts and satanic jacuzzis in the basement.
And I do miss the upper echelons of what you can do with a movie. I don't know that there's any particular moment in here that had me guffaw to the level of when that swordfish attacks Robbins in Amityville 3. That is without a doubt one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
The chainsaw scene in this is fantastic.
Okay, the chainsaw scene in this is virtuoso. I will agree. And part of the problem with that scene is that should we say, who cares about the plot of this movie, right?
Hey, we basically like a woman goes to an estate sale at the Amityville house.
Yes.
And she spots this grotesque lamp.
It is truly ugly.
It looks like it basically looks like this gnarled tree with like a couple of globe lights on it. I mean, I don't know how much it must have cost to ship this thing. across the country, because it looks
far
like it
more
weighs
than it costs to get it from that yard sale.
Because it looks like it weighs about 400 pounds. And so she decides that she's going to send it to her sister, who I guess she hates. By sending her this
it's
ugly
one of those
lamp.
like family things where like the goal of gift giving is to give you the ugliest thing possible. I guess.
Right, one of my closest friends, we do an ugly ornament exchange every year. So you know, one year she's given me like a hedgehog, and you know, another year I gave her one of those like, you know, weird, like looks like a sculpted person ornaments, you know, where you just kind of pass it back and forth. And I forgot to mention that there is a little bit of a prologue in which we do see a couple of priests perform an exorcism in this house. And they know
for midnight, they assemble, baby. They're in there.
And
they've got water guns full of holy water. It's everything that you want.
And you know, they you know how they used to have the joke about with the exorcist, get me a young priest and an old priest. Yeah. They actually have an old priest and a young priest here. Yeah. And but here I don't think it's supposed to be like a wink at the audience. I think that this is, you know, another thing that makes this movie so, you know, I honestly think it's endearing. It's endearingly crappy. Because they you know, they take it quite seriously. They're really trying to make something scary out of it. Yeah. But anyway, so this younger priest definitely sees like this demonic spirit enter this lamp.
He gets flattened like he's in the ring with John Cena. He lasts all of a minute and a half in this onslaught, which it starts, you see from the house POV, which you get like from the first movie on. But unlike that, like you can tell it's a TV budget because the flies have gotten minuscule. It's like, what do you mean we need fat flies? Like, and the studio guy's like, you got net money or nothing. Hang up.
So yeah, the sister she cuts herself on this lamp, you know, and then you know that's not going to end well. Does not get a tetanus shot, as she definitely should.
She is told specifically by her sister, you need to get a tetanus shot. And she's like, it'll be fine. It kills her, everybody.
Yeah, she's like, the very next scene, next time you see her, she's all sweating and like her hands all like swollen and turning black. And then the priest like, and then like 5 minutes later, the priest's like, well, she died.
She gets a lethal case of the Freddy Krueger finger, and that's what does her in. It's and it's not quick. She lasts for weeks. We need to go back a little bit though, because this yard sale has to be discussed in some amount of detail, because there's weirdness going on here. One of my favorites, and I'm going to send this picture to you, and I will make sure to post it when we do this episode, is Mel Gibson, or at least his character from Lethal Weapon, has leapt out of the page, out of the silver screen, and into this yard sale in the background. Who shows up at a yard sale looking like Cobra? I don't understand this at all.
I was paying attention to this fantastic fringe jacket on this young lady in the foreground here.
Yes,
that's
the yard sale. She brought that to the yard sale.
that is 1989 in a nutshell, baby.
They're doing something at a Formica kitchen table, which would fetch a very nice price now. But then everybody, we have this aunt character, and I'm going to send you this as a reference, because strap in, Gina. This is Helen. She's the only white person who has emulated Kid's haircut from Kid and Play. I've never seen a white person do this. Helen is like if a Chico's was given the gift of life.
Yeah, she's wearing approximately 18 necklaces.
She has a costume jewelry to clothing ratio of 50-50. And that's admirable. She's like a beige Mr. T. She's dressed like Conan the Barbarian retired and is now performing sound baths for divorced women in Sedona, Arizona.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, this outfit does not scream upstate New York to me. This doesn't scream Long Island. This is definitely a southwestern Luke.
Yes. And it is an LEWK Luke. Now Helen buys what I'm calling Lampy because I thought that'll be my stand-in for this funny name I give this lamp. And I never did. It's not funny. This lamp is humorless in many respects. But Lampy is meant to be this fake funny gift for her sister. And then she cuts her finger on it and immediately, as I said before, looks like a Jimmy Dean breakfast sausage. At one point, she's just holding it under a faucet. What is running water going to do for that? That is you need to see a doctor looking finger, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, you need to at least get that thing cleaned out or something.
The one shot I did not get of her is the secondary outfit, which is purple neoprene tracksuit and kitten heels, which is just classic Helen. I mean, did she borrow that from Heavy D? We'll never know. She dresses
because she died.
Interesting. She's the most fascinating character in what I think is a rather character-forward Amityville movie.
Yeah, because she seems kind of fun and cool and interesting. Whereas Jane Wyatt, who plays her sister, the West Coast contingency of this family, she very much for roughly about 90% of the movie, she very much has a whomst farted look on her face.
She insinuates at one point that a young child who's lost her father should essentially walk it off, which is stealing.
Yeah, when things initially start happening, like you've got this the bird kind of like decides he's gonna like kill itself by like flying into a toaster oven.
This is a good question. Does that bird commit suicide by flying into a toaster oven with the belief that someone is bound to turn it on so that people can eat hot rolls in the morning? Who has a hot roll for breakfast, Gina?
Things just start going wrong around the house, and she decides it must be the grandchildren.
Well, yes.
I've never seen a character so openly loathe her own grandchildren since the book version of John Hammond from Jurassic Park. Remember the book version of John Hammond in Jurassic Park, where his dying thoughts are blaming his grandchildren for him being gutted by a raptor?
He had a point. And it wasn't that he undercut his staff and thought, I'm too rich to do this, and I'm not going to pay somebody.
You've got John Hammond, the grandmother from Flowers in the Attic, and this lady all absolutely despise their young grandchildren.
Yeah, but she also spreads the wealth. She seems to despise almost everyone. Handymen, plumbers, people who fix up broken windows. She's not too keen on her own daughter, I'll tell you that much. Spoiler alert. At the very end of this movie, Patty Duke turns to Jane Wyatt, and says, "Mom, I love you." And you're left there hanging as Jane Wyatt's character.
She's thinking it over.
She is really thinking over. And you know what she thinks? Not today, bitch. I'm not saying that here. I'm not saying that now. I don't care if my sister's dead. I don't care if we went through hell. I love you will be reserved for another time. And she gets into a cab and drives the fuck on. So if you're looking for an emotional grandmother, this will not be it. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, no, and it honestly has nothing to do with the haunting or anything. They just decided, we'll make her a dried up old bitch.
She's just withholding. And as a result, I mean, it is a character choice to be kind of unlikable and like her doubting of absolutely everything that happens within the house isn't like out of the realm of possibility, because she just doesn't accept a lot of what she sees. She just thinks the world should run differently on her time clock, and stuff that happens, someone else must have caused this problem. And in a sense, her sister caused this problem by sending her that ugly, fugly lamp.
This thing is insane.
It's like Jack Skellington was carved out of brass.
And I love the idea is, it would be funny to send her this 400-pound lamp.
She will love this monstrosity that this also elderly woman will not be able to hoist into her house. And she has not a live-in maid, but basically a housekeeper who's there all the fucking time. And at one point, she tasks that housekeeper and the electrician's kid with taking that up 3 flights of fucking stairs to the attic, Gina. You, who's already cooking and cleaning and taking care of me, haul that lamp up to the fucking attic, why don't you?
Haul that lamp from the murder house upstairs.
All right, now, Gina, stand by, because I'm going to send you one more picture. This is great for a podcast, but I need to give you a bit of a pop quiz. We've seen this house. This is not new to us. Okay. Where's this house from? Bum, 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 bum.
So this is obviously somewhere in California.
Bum, bum. You're right. Bum, 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 bum.
I don't know. I'm not as good at this kind of thing as you are.
Bum, 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 bum. This is Dirty Peanuts HQ. Bum, bum.
What?
This is the same house from the fucking Unseen, baby. Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
in
no.
one of those windows, a lady was dragged down into a heating event by a 300-pound man.
No wonder the lamp thrives there then.
It does not back up against a coastal cliff. That was a facade built along a parking lot. So that is, again, like in the Unseen, you see like there's farmland behind it. That's what's actually behind it. So that's the bit of movie magic that they do here. But when I saw this, when I pulled up into this parking lot, into the little driveway, I paused it a bunch of times, like, where do I know this fucking house from? And I immediately sent the picture to Phil, and I said, guess what? The Unseen house is in another movie. He's like, how did I never see this? I've seen that movie. How did I not know this? I don't know, man. The bigger question is, why the fuck do I know this, Gina?
You're quite good with this kind of thing. I'm impressed.
But why? And what has it gained me? Again, as far as a skill goes, I can't market this shit. No one cares but me. Phil cared a little bit just because he's the world's biggest unseen cheerleader, but no one else on earth cares. So let's meet Alice. As we mentioned before, she's played by the screen legend Jane Wyatt, taking a paycheck to keep her union health benefits, presumably, I assume.
Yeah, she tries very hard to not look embarrassed and fails much of the time.
Well, a lot of what is happening is very embarrassing. So it is very difficult for everyone to keep a straight face. And so then we have her daughter, Nancy, played by Patty Duke, who I personally had hoped that we would see her reach that full Valley of the Dolls mode at some point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she holds it together too much. It's a little disappointing.
Yes, I want her to go bigger. I want her to have a breakdown in an alley. I want her to incomprehensibly say boobies over and over again. None of this happens. As close as it gets, she gets into a slap fight with her youngest daughter. And that's as close to Valley of the Dolls as we're going to get. But Nancy also has 3 kids. We have Amanda, the sullen teen. We have Jessica, the spooky daughter. And then we have Brian, the boy, with only one thing on his mind: birds. And not British slang for girls. He just likes birds.
He likes birds and chainsaws.
In that order. Those are all his only distinguishing characteristics. And as soon as they're in the door, Jessica is in full Carol Ann mode, instantly drawn to Lampy.
She's like, at one point, my favorite scene, second to the chainsaw scene, is at one point, she points to the lamp. And again, like, girl playing this character, she's probably about maybe 9 or 10.
Right.
But she is written like as much younger, because at one point she points to the lamp and says, "Look, it's Daddy."
And like, how are you supposed to take a word she says seriously after that?
Yeah, and it's like, is the lamp, like, is she literally like hallucinating to the dad, or is the lamp talking to her and telling her, yes, it's me, it's Dad?
And we do learn once faces start to appear in it, because early on he looks like the Wishmaster, and then he starts to look like Uncle Frank from Hellraiser, and then he's kind of Fred Krueger in New Nightmare. So he's got a lot of different looks.
They happen to arrive the same day as the lamp. And shit just starts happening immediately.
I, for one, started having flashbacks to more than just the unseen. Because I don't know about you, but Jessica was giving me major The Visitor vibes.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, obviously it was supposed to be evocative of Poltergeist, because you got this little girl, she got the long blonde hair. Right, she's just kind of skulking around the house, doesn't say much.
Very spooky. She's looking at inanimate objects as if they're talking.
Right.
It's a vibe.
Yeah.
It really didn't help that you've got a bird yelling "pretty bird" for the first 10 minutes of they've been like having flashbacks of people getting plaster Paris shoved in their face, and bald kids getting lectures, and ice skate tripping,
and Lance Henriksen getting switchbladed to death by a bird. What are we going to do a commentary on that?
Listen, we've got a January slot open. I don't see why not.
I think we need to.
January movie commentary? Oh no, that's too general. The Visitor.
I just rewatched it a few months ago to write about it for my newsletter, but you know, I could watch it over and over again. There's something new every time.
Because part of your brain refuses to take in the information. You just don't believe it's happening. Like, it just couldn't possibly be happening. And yet there it is. And I feel like the reaction we got from Night Train to Terror was, oh my God, thank you for making me watch this. It's one thing to hear about it, but it's another thing to be confronted by it.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. The Visitor. It's scheduled. Nancy is Alice's daughter, and they sit down at a table for what I assume is TV movie mandated backstory. Nancy's husband, Frank, dies suddenly at age 42, leaving her with little money to live on and no skills to exploit in the workforce. And so she has been forced by circumstance back into Alice's home. Also, we learn that Alice hates Brian's haircut, which is dopey, but not a real problem. And then she also just says, like, Jessica will get past her dead dad, which is a real moment.
Yeah.
You get a real window into Alice's mind frame of how she deals with trauma.
Yeah, it's sort of like, maybe you guys would have been better off just, staying in like a comfort inn or something.
Right. Like, I don't know how much money you have, but it'll probably go farther, and you'll keep your sanity longer than being in this house with this woman who's like, I don't like your only son's haircut. And I'll be honest with you, it does look a little too much like Wolverine Jr. for me. That actor who plays Brian ended up having a relatively long career. He was in a bunch of Star Trek stuff, where he played a Ferengi character who kept coming back and back. He's a featured Ferengi. And it is at this point, I really hope that Ghost Lamp doesn't interrupt this cross-generational insult fight. But it turns out we get a mini Sylvester versus Tweety versus Haunted Lamp Dawn of Amityville going on here, where they're each very, very pissed off that they have to share space with this haunted lamp. And that haunted lamp's like, get the fuck out of here, cat. And Bird, my light bulbs are on you, baby.
That bird has been marked for death.
We kind of get like the demon ghost or whatever the fuck was in Amityville is just using this lamp to get around. It's like a supernatural lift.
Yeah, again, like it's not even like, oh, the lamp brought evil with it. It is the lamp that is doing things. Yes. Like at one point, like the housekeeper, it like strangles the housekeeper on its cord.
Yeah, it can whip its cord around like it is Indiana Jones. And
yeah, it's kind of doing both. It's sort of making things happen and doing things itself, because it also like shreds someone's arm in a garbage disposal.
Right. Well, we'll get to that. We will get to that, Jada, because I have questions. In the meantime, while the bird and the cat are having this fight with the lamp, Alice is just rampaging against Nancy. Like, give your widowed daughter a fucking break. She's like, oh, this song that came on the radio, that was Frank and my song. And she's like, coincidence. Let her have it. Let her have this. She just lost her husband. She had to move she had to move from San Francisco to Nowhereville to have a roof over her fucking head. Just like, give her the shit.
That's not a coincidence. Like couples have songs, and the fact that
they? Alice thinks not,
and the fact that it's like you choose your song, so I mean it's not like that the song would pop up on the radio and not be a coincidence. It just happens to be playing.
But she's like, oh, Frank, and she's like, get over it. You don't have a song. Songs don't mean anything. It's like, Jesus Christ.
It's time you get a job and get out of my house.
Like, I've been here for 10 minutes. Could you calm the fuck down? And so later that night, their first night there, and of course, Jessica's like, I don't want to sleep in this room alone. And Nancy's like, okay, you can sleep here with me. And then cut to several hours later, and her bedroom is lit up like a production of Hamlet is going on there. There's so much light pouring into everything. I think this is one of the better scares is a man's arm goes over her shoulder. And this is the first time I've seen ghost spooning in a motion picture. But then Jesse's gone, Daddy's gone, and he'd be bored to tears about our road trip. So stop talking to this lamp about your fucking road trip. I can't imagine how bored this demonic presence is by having to hear Jessica give a rundown of where they stopped to poop along the way.
And when they're not like, when it's not forced to listen to that, it's probably forced to listen to, it's the mom's name again.
Oh, Nancy or Alice?
Alice, like, complaining that there's spots on her glasses in the dish after the dishwasher.
Like, she's not made of money. She does have a practically living housekeeper, but she's not made of money, Muller. Now, I don't have proof of this, but did the producers of this movie shrink Brian Bosworth down to tween size for Brian? He seems there's something about him that seems like an adult shrunk down to 13-year-old size. I don't know if it's about he's got a lot of face. He's got his Wolverine hair.
Well, he was one of those actors who, was always playing characters younger, like much younger than he actually was. Like I did like a quick skim, and he was actually like 20 when he did this movie. And I think his character is supposed to be like 13.
And I think that's the dissonance you feel at it, because you look at it and go, that something about this isn't right. It just doesn't seem, it seems like an adult who's been shrunk down, like a shrinky dink, to tween size. And then when he acts like a 13-year-old, you're like, I don't buy it. No. I don't buy what's going on here.
Like, you should know better to pick up that chainsaw, sir.
You absolutely should.
You are old enough to vote.
The bird dies in a toaster oven.
It's just the bird's just like, I'm fucking out of here.
I mean,
whomst among us hasn't longed to escape by doing a header into a toaster oven?
But this is now the second film I can think of in our filmography in which a bird dies in a kitchen and a parent immediately blames a child for something they absolutely could not have done.
Yeah, what is a more absurd, and it also involves like, you know, the bird like burning to death and
right, yes.
Yeah, it's like what do you think is more absurd reach, this or Nightmare 2?
Nightmare 2 is the bigger reach because that bird explodes in a ball of flame in the middle of a kitchen.
Right, and it happens right in front of everyone.
In front of everyone.
It's not like Jesse said, "Oh, hey, the bird blew up." Like, you know, there's like a little pile of, you know, ashes and feathers. But like, yeah, they're all sitting there watching it happen.
Right. It's gone crazy. They're all like, how can we contain this bird? And then it, like a 1973 Pinto, it just explodes. And he's like, how did you do this? Why would you do this? Like, how the...
Like, what did you think he
what
fed
do you think I do? I can make birds explode?
Do you think I fed him a firecracker or something?
It's like, you're on drugs. You gave the bird drugs. What drug makes a bird explode? Let me get on the ground floor of that drug. Speaking of, the kids are dropped off at school, at least the two older ones, because Jessica has a fever. So school, in quotes here, is being represented by the exterior of John Marshall High School in Los Angeles. Now, this was seen on this show from the original Nightmare on Elm Street. But has also been used, you might have seen it in Grosse Pointe Blank or Pretty in Pink or Zapped or Girls Just Want to Have Fun, amongst many, many, many others. It's just a very stately looking school that's very photogenic. Cut back to Long Island because Priest Jr. has learned that most of the furniture was sold. And his first question is, where that demon lamp be at? Because it almost killed me. It gave me the rock bottom into the floor, and I almost died as a result of it.
The lamp gave me the people's elbow.
I don't know enough wrestling vernacular to keep going on that run, but you can fill it in, everybody. Before we get into this, all the parents who happen to listen to this, or maybe you might have children one day. Here's a good thing to know. Have you talked to your children about the destructive power of basement chainsaws?
Oh my God. It's so good. It's so good, Patrick.
he mouse and the motorcycles this fucking chainsaw.
Which is just let us clarify. Yeah. It's just sitting out on a workbench in this elderly woman's basement.
Yeah, what was she doing?
That is filled with enough potatoes and canned goods to feed a small Eastern European country.
The only weirder basement we've come across was from Psycho 2, where they had potatoes and coal. And you could lose a body inside a pile of coal. Like
at one point, like he runs into this entire like ShopRite size bin of potatoes. And up to this point, it was only her living in the house.
Right. What would she ever need that many potatoes and onions for? Like, what is her potato and onion budget? Is she farming them? Is she getting them from local farmers? Why does she have an entire shelf full of unpainted Color Me Mine figurines that Brian destroys with that?
She has like an entire wall of like canned fruits and vegetables. Alice, are you a prepper? Maybe that's why she resented Nancy the Kids movie again, because they were going to cut into her doomsday stash.
That's right. Digging my sweet potatoes. It's hard to choose your favorite in the chainsaw sequence.
Oh my God! He picks up the chainsaw, which starts itself up, and sort of drags him, like pulls him around the room.
Right. The chainsaw is in charge of what is happening, not him.
And like, so Alice and the housekeeper go downstairs and see what's going on, and the housekeeper like just picks up a pipe and
there's a pipe on chainsaw fight.
Between
two people who do not want to fight.
Between this 13-year-old and senior citizen.
And she wins. She wins.
Like, I am sure you can find just that clip online somewhere, and it's that basically that on the strength of that alone, this is probably one of the better Amityville movies.
I agree. Perhaps my personal favorite of all of this is when they replace the actor Brian with the stunt double Brian, and they look nothing alike. They're wearing the same shirt, but all of a sudden a taller person is involved. And they're really trying to sell it like it's the same person, but there's just no way to cover that this is an adult-sized person now throwing this chainsaw around. Again, I don't need that. Whatever this Brian actor was at the time wielding this chainsaw, safety first. But before he brings the entire house down on top of them, Helen manages to stop him with that crowbar. And then again, Alice is like, the fuck you doing, kid? First you kill my bird. Now you're running around here with a chainsaw in my basement. And he's like, I didn't even turn it on. And she's like, well, it didn't turn itself on. And then everyone's in like a shouting match of like, we believe Brian, and like what Brian is saying is insane. And they all go off to their separate corners. And another day dawns.
And nobody asks Alice, like, so why did we have a chainsaw just sitting out?
No, well, you need them. Otherwise, how are you going to be able to get through all those onions and potatoes? The next day, they've called an electrician in, and the electrician cannot be bothered. He's got too many other calls. So he sends his son. And so his son is brought in, and the housekeeper Helen asks the older daughter, would you show this horny teen boy to the basement, please? So he goes down there, he's fiddling with shit. And then comes back up like, I don't think it's a fuse. And then Alice orders Danny, this boy, and Helen to move that fucking lamp up to the attic. The older daughter, Amanda, is cleaning up after this apple pie thing that Alice has done, because she can't say I love you, but she can bake pies, I guess. And so she's like, can you clean this up for me? It's been a day. And she's like, yeah, fine. And so she's like feeding the peels of the apple into the garbage disposal. And then it just stops. And Danny's like, let me fix that. But before I do, let me put this piece of tape over this thing so the garbage disposal does not get turned on. You can guess it. It's an Amityville film. You're going to have some hand trauma. So just as they're talking about the only cool thing to do in town is bowling, we learn Danny ain't ever going to bowl again.
Nope.
Because that garbage disposal decimates his fucking hand. And he is showered in blood from this.
Yeah, I did not know that there was like a version for this video that they punched up a bit with more gore. I didn't know that.
The director here was actually the screenwriter of the 1979 version of Amityville, and he has stated, I didn't film anything with that much blood because I knew it would be on television. There's no way they would ever allow that. So why would I do that? And apparently they brought these people back at some point and said, we're going to do an R-rated version and release this on home video. And so, yeah, he didn't direct that. That's added after the fact. But Amityville hand damage strikes again. Now, keep in mind, a garbage disposal has tiny, you don't want to put your hand in there, everybody. It's not going to end well. But it won't cut off your hand. Keep that in mind. Because later, it's going to be proposed that it did cut off his entire hand. Back to Long Island, Priest Jr., we learn his name is Kibler.
Father Kibler.
Listen, once I learned that, I'm like, good to know. I'm not changing my notes now. It's Priest Jr. in my mind.
And of every actor in this movie to take what's happening seriously, I think, God bless, I think he takes it the most seriously.
He really does. He is trying to make this come alive, but he's being confronted with the goofiest fucking aspects of the movie. It's hard to take it seriously when he makes a phone call to what is now his dead contact's sister, Alice, but the phone melts in his hand. He's a melto phone.
Yeah, this is the point where they've kind of given up on the idea of like how a haunted house works, because now it could just happen anywhere. Whereas like a poltergeist can follow you wherever you are, but like a haunting is place based. At this point, it's like, well, it goes where it needs to go.
Yeah, Priest Jr. says, I need to hit the coast, and we leave it at that.
Which is on the other hand, is certainly better than the priest of the first Amityville horror, particularly the book, who's just like, hey, good luck with all that.
Listen, my stomach gets irpy when I'm near the house.
I have a rash. I'm going to go to Florida.
I got to sit and look at a lake for a while. I'm sorry. I saw flies. It's a real come down from the fucking Exorcist.
I was gonna say, it's not exactly throwing yourself down a flight of 18 hard ass stairs.
I tried to drive to the house, but then I felt like I didn't want to. And here, like, it does happen to Priest Jr. He does approach the house. And he's like, "No, I'm irpy. Come and meet me at my motel, and we'll talk at the Regal Beagle that's attached to it." And they do that, but he does show up in the end. He does legitimately try. So you got to give him that. Jessica, the youngest daughter, continues to talk.
Talks to Daddy in the lamp.
Yeah, it's Daddy. And Nancy drags her away, and and they get into a fight just outside the attic door, and you're kind of like, oh. How does it feel to have a child hysterically slap you, Patty Duke? Do you like that? How do you like them apples? How do you like your chickens coming home?
You're not even trying to teach her anything.
She can see. She can hear. Now, the young, old priest here, the young one we've talked about, the older priest we haven't as much. It's Norman Lloyd, who was in St. Elsewhere and a whole bunch of stuff.
Is he the one that lived to be like 112 or something?
I don't know about that, but
I have the page of the movie here. Let me see.
Please do. But when they finally gain permission from the Monsignor to send Priest Jr. to California, and they come down the stairs together, it's a little too tight because Norman Lloyd hits a picture on the wall and it just swings for the remainder of the scene. And they're like, you want to take two on that, or no, we don't have time. Okay, let's stay into the picture, everybody.
So to clarify, Norman Lloyd died in 2021. He was 106.
Wow, good for you, Norman Lloyd.
I find it's not good, but I find it charming. When you're coming away from the roadiness of the second one and the incompetence of the third one, you've got here they are trying. They are trying on a made-for-TV budget. They actually have real actors. And Patty Duke is more restrained than she tends to be in a lot of her movies, as you already pointed out. But, they are trying to make a real movie. And the problem with a lot of 70s and 80s horror movies is they were, with a few exceptions, they were very limited in how scary they could get. So,
Right.
oh my God, a chainsaw that comes to life by itself, I mean, it knocks over some potatoes. That's as far as TV movies go, that's fucking terrifying.
Which makes it so jarring when it does start to get gory with all the blood from the
Yeah, I mean, when you
that get
don't
chopped
expect,
off.
you really don't expect it to have a genuine body count.
Right. In advance of Priest Jr. arriving, he has sent a telegram, which the house blows away like that feather in Forrest Gump. It just magically
It sort of feels like that the house is sort of in cahoots with the lamp.
Well, the lamp was plugged into the house, and so
I guess
some of the mojo.
Yeah, I guess the idea is that the evil is sort of moving like through the cord.
Yes. It bulges like a fucking cartoon. It's bizarre.
And possessing other items in the house.
Yeah. It's plugged in. And so all of a sudden this house, it slowly but surely becomes more and more haunted as the movie goes on. Jessica, now after this evening, which Jessica freaked out, Alice says, we got to get a doctor in here. And Nancy's like, I like her to be seen like by a psychologist. And she's like, I'm sure our local doctor, mortician will be able to handle this. And what this doctor says is, try not to have emotions around Jessica. That will make this work.
Try not to have emotions.
Don't have emotions. Doctor's orders. Like, okay, I don't think that's really going to change anything here, but thank you very much, guy with a medical degree. I'll be doing my own research on that one. And it is a little hard to keep your emotions in check when you end up brushing your teeth with sewage water. I don't like that. I don't like it at all.
No.
And she's not the oldest daughter is the one who is brushing her teeth, but she's not the only one to notice it. Helen does too. The electrician, the elder electrician is there during this. And he's like, this is a major problem. You need to have it checked out. And that's when Alice goes, I don't have like plumber money. It's like, look at you have some money. You have some money. I think you can get a plumber to make sure you're not brushing your teeth with sewer water. That's, I would say, time to bring him in.
I'm just looking at the plot description on Wikipedia, and I think my favorite line here is, meanwhile, Father Kibler, while staying at Father Manfred's place, gets a call from the lamp.
It's true. The lamp makes a call warning him not to travel across the country. Oh, you think you're big stuff, huh? The last time I met you, I put you on the floor. This time I'm gonna put you in the ground.
You got
Don't come to California.
You got Prince Albert in a can.
Is your refrigerator running? It's diabolical.
What are you wearing? A priest collar. Oh, sounds sexy.
Is the other guy there also a priest? All right, this is beginning to seem like something I saw on the internet. You don't know what the internet is? Just wait a couple of years. You're going to love it.
I totally believe the internet is from the devil.
Yeah. I'm no Mr. Fix-It, Gina. I'm limited when it comes to, things I can do. I changed the thermostat in the house a couple weeks ago. I was very proud of that. But I think like the first rule of like plumbers in your house is don't start any water-based activity or chore.
Though generally, like I believe the first step in any even minor plumbing repair is turn off the water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that doesn't happen. They need Helen to be distracted by something, so she throws a bunch of laundry into a very noisy washing machine. Meanwhile, underneath the house, this plumber has discovered a bulging pipe that he's trying to open.
It's filled with evil, liquid evil,
and a full ass hand with school ring on. Now, again,
I guess this he had his hand in the disposal, so it just placed just so that when the disposal kicked on, it just neatly sliced his hand off at the wrist.
Right, but that's not how garbage disposal
No, the whole
works.
point of it kind of mulches your garbage,
right. It's
like your hand should
be spinning blades.
Yeah, your hand should be like a little chewed up, not sliced off.
His fingies are not in great shape, considering how much blood sprayed back. But when we see that hand, it is beautiful. It is pale, is beautiful amongst that goo, and then. For Gina, it is weird how things double back on this show. This is the second movie this year where someone has been waterboarded with something other than water.
Yes, yeah, he just gets bukkakied with liquid evil.
he gets gooped to the point of death, and the toughest thing to do is play dead, and then. Let's add covered in goo. And unfortunately for this gentleman, they do not have a take two here because he gets covered in goo and he's supposed to be dead. And his eyes are like, oh, there's goo in my eye. Oh, there's goo in my eye.
He's definitely like wincing and like scrunching up his face. And again, I can't blame him.
No, who wants goo all over their face? But again, he took the job. All I'm saying is part of the job is to look like a dead person.
You're going to have a lot of goop poured onto your body. I can handle it.
Yeah.
What is this? What is it? Tuesday?
Now everyone's saying if the lamp house kills this plumber right underneath the house, how are they going to make it seem like he's not dead? The ghost drives a fucking van. The ghost like telepathically drives the van away. We are absolutely not kidding. I mean, you can gripe all you want about Michael Myers driving a car or Jason Voorhees piloting a boat, but I never really thought we would reach the point where a ghost drove a fucking van.
I've never seen either Michael Myers or Jason make a phone call. I mean, Michael Myers he picks up the phone at one point.
Yeah,
but he did not dial that phone.
No, he did not dial that phone. He's not having a conversation. He's just breathing into
it. But this ghost manages to dial the phone. He manages to know the phone number of the priest. Managed to get a message across and melt that phone from 2,000 miles away.
In Amityville, he does, and in some of the sequels, like the ghost does interfere with phone calls.
Right, but it's more just like a crackling, on the line, and usually it happens when one of the people on the phone is in the house. But apparently the evil has gotten so powerful that it can now do things from 2,000 miles away. Come on, you got to be with me here. Like I said, this movie is so wacky that you have to enjoy it.
I do feel it is enjoyable, and I think the toughest part of it was because it is on all these free sites. It's on your Tubi, it's on your Freevee and whatnot. But the problem is the commercial interruptions of delivering the exact same 6 commercials over and over and over again is what would drag down the experience.
I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube, but I know that chainsaw scene is on there.
Right. Cue up those Top Gun chimes, bong, because a real priest is here. Priest Jr. And he gets out of a taxi cab. He walks right up to the house. Jessica answers and she's like, come on in. We killed one person today. We can make it 2. And he's like, ouchie, my tummy is oopsie doodle. And he chickens out and he runs away. And then you flash up to the lamp in the attic and they're trying to do the fly thing again. But they just can't seem to work it out. Like the director's like, I want the lamp to be surrounded by flies. And then the fly guy's like, yeah, I could dump a bunch of dead ones on top. Does that work? It's like, I guess. And that's what they do. It's a lamp with a bunch of dead flies on top of it. It's not exactly the creepiest thing you've ever seen in your life.
No.
Jessica claims that Peggy went home when she's asked by Nancy later on, but Nancy discovers she's left her coat there. So that doesn't really jibe. Brian, the kid just constantly looks like he's just exited a wind tunnel because his entire haircut is just pushed back off of his skull, making him look like he's always surprised. But he does find a surprise, and that is Peggy's dead corpse, because Peggy went up to the attic and that lamp Indiana Jones her with
it's just like garroted her like a Bond henchman.
Yes. And the fucking doctor shows up later. He's like, that was definitely a heart attack. I mean, I'm going to do an autopsy and everything. But she's obviously struggling to the point where she's scraped her knuckles on the door trying to get out. And he's like, probably heart attack. I mean, most heart attacks have a garroted mark on your neck. Like, come on. And then Jessica's destroyed her room.
Yeah, after that point, it just kind of turns into like with Amityville 2, you kind of get more exorcism shit.
Right. You kind of get the feeling at a certain point, I did here, before the end of the movie where it's confirmed. But Pepper the cat and Lampy are now working together as a team, because Pepper lures Amanda to look outside the window of her room, and then in Amityville style, that windowsill slams down on her head and she's knocked out, which allows Jessica to reconnoiter with Lampy. The good news is Priest Jr. is back on the case after having drinks with Nancy at the local legal Eagle Beagle. They race back to the house, and they get upstairs, and Jessica is now a free-floating vapor of a tween. She's just free-floating.
I do love that. You folks, you probably won't believe how they defeat evil. How they defeat the evil lamp. Do you want to? Should we tell them, or should we insist that they watch it for themselves?
This is a spoiler alert. You can pause here, watch it, and come back, because we have to talk about it. I have to get this off.
Yeah, just all right. Just pause it now. Come back in about 5 minutes. They throw the fucking thing out the window.
Not only that, Alice, this elderly woman, picks up what has been established 2 people have to carry. And
she's had enough of this lamp bullshit.
Fuck this lamp. I don't have time for this. You caused so much damage. We have broken windows. We have fucked up plumbing.
You caused me to lose half my potato stash.
My beautiful bird.
I have had enough of your shit.
Fuck you. And she mom strengths this, like the Hulk mom who pulls a car off their.
I was gonna say she's like the scene in Superman where like little baby Clark Kent like lifts the truck off his dad.
But everyone, like, Jessica's stabbing Priest Jr. and Nancy's like, no, you're not Frank. And then Frank's face changes a whole bunch of times. And then Alice is like, would you fuck this? And she walks over and she picks up that fucking lamp and over her head and throws it out a window.
That's it. That is all it takes.
That's all it takes to defeat a ghost demon lamp.
That can make that let me remind you, can make phone calls and knows how to drive.
Knows how to drive. But listen, nothing survives that drop off of that cliff. And so I was like, oh, that's why they put it on the side of the cliff. I just never would have imagined this is the end of the movie. But the lamp does lasso Priest Jr.'s arm. And so Patty Duke has to, with an axe, chop off the cord before it pulls Priest Jr. off into the brine below. They don't even fucking clean up that lamp.
No.
They're like, fuck it. That lives down there now. That's somebody else's problem. And then, as I mentioned, Patty Duke's like, Mom, I love you. Silence. Just you see a million things flash across Alice's face, but none of them are I love you too. That doesn't happen. She doesn't say it to her daughter. She doesn't say it to her grandkids. Not even a near-death experience and the sudden onset of Hulk strength with a haunted lamp will make this woman have an emotion.
Yeah, there's not even a I am mildly fond of you.
It's like, no, ditto or right back at you, kid. Any of these things would have sufficed. But no, she's just like, you won't get the satisfaction of emotion from me. Thank you very much. How about a cold smile? And she's off to her sister's funeral. And then we go to the cliffs below and the cat's eyes turn red.
The end.
The end.
It's fucking great. I mean, again, the first one, it's fine.
The first one's boring as
hell. The second one makes you want to take a shower afterwards.
It's sleazy and full of sweaty bladder work and is so fucking gonzo that it gets a high recommend from me. But you have to be prepared.
Yeah, it's like this is this is like horror 101. That's horror 202 because you've got incest and you've got dead children and you've just got a lot of this. I don't want to see any of this. Whereas in this one, there's some gore, but it's just so charmingly silly that I just I can't help but like it.
And there's not a single wink.
Oh no! Again, like I said, they I swear to God, I initially thought that the whole we did an old priest and a young priest thing that was supposed to be a joke. But no, I think that this was done with absolute sincerity.
So let us choose our own death venture, which is a rarity for a ghost movie that we cover on here. But we have it now where we decide of the deaths portrayed in this motion picture. If you were to die in one of those ways, which one would you choose and why? Up for bid, number one with a bullet, baby, tetanus. Just tetanus.
Just letting yourself die of an infected finger. And with that,
run it under some water.
And with that, wardrobe and that jewelry, she had some decent insurance. She had no excuse to not go to a doctor.
She was fine. Maybe not initially, but when that finger looks like an inside out monkey from The Fly, it's time to go to the doctor. Or you can get waterboarded by evil goo, or you can get throttled by an electrical cord.
Do we know that the teenage plumber, he survived?
Yes, specifically.
Oh, okay.
The housekeeper says he will live.
Okay.
And the dad is like showing up to work the next day. I just don't think you would.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that if Ollie lost a hand, you'd be like, I'm going to take a couple days off.
Yeah, I don't. I think I'm going to take some time off. My apologies. This doesn't happen every day. That my child loses an entire fucking hand to a garbage disposal, and it comes out clean.
Okay, it's great. You can just sew it back on.
Really good.
All right. You know what? Honestly, I make fun for her failing to go to the doctor, but you know what? Like dying of tetanus after cutting my finger on an ugly lamp is so on brand for me that I think that that is what I'm going to choose.
I mean, none of these deaths are fun because tetanus is a long drawn out affair, but at least in the hospital, they're putting you under. You're getting the good drugs at a certain point. She's getting tented. She's getting oxygen. She's high as a kite. She doesn't know where she is. Yes, I'm going tetanus. I'm certainly not going to get waterboarded by evil goo in the basement of my house.
And getting odd jobbed by a lamp.
Right. Yeah. Fuck that. Odd job by a lamp. The lamp transforms into the master of the flying guillotine.
Why not? It can drive and make telephone calls.
It can drive a fucking van. It's making phony phone calls. It's calling Moe's bar, for Christ's
Please,
sake.
I implore you, watch this movie. It's very silly, and it's fun silly, not like, oh God, this is an hour and a half of my life I'm never getting back silly.
Yeah.
Like pretty much every other Amityville movie going on from this point. Like
right.
It's not.
They're only going to get weird.
The entertainment value for these movies stops here. Like it is ever diminishing returns after that.
And so Josh Hollis does all of our artwork. Go to Revenge Body Memphis at revengebody.com to get this theme and all of the remixes. Gina, where can people find you on these here internet?
I write about television and movies at thespool.net. I have a Substack, GinaWatchesThings.substack.com. I am on Instagram and Blue Sky and TikTok under Gina Does Things.
Do it today, people. Check it out. You can find us on most of your socials, with the exception of Twitter, at Kill by Kill Pod. Rate and review us on iTunes or your podcaster catcher of choice. If they provide you with the avenue to do so, it helps us be seen and heard by more people. Go to our TeePublic store, buy a t-shirt, for crying out loud. They're fun stuff. And when you wear them out, people want to know what is that t-shirt? I want to know what that is. It's really good, especially our Choose Your Own Death Venture t-shirt, but all of them are pretty damn good. And that just about does it. Here's a producer note for y'all. We're going to be taking a couple weeks off. I'm going to be traveling. Gina is rather busy. She has a lot of end of year stuff, and we need to build up our episodes because I'm going to be gone for several weeks in the spring. So my apologies in advance. We generally only take 1 week off, but we're going to be taking 2. But the good news is if you go to patreon.com, there's over 100 episodes that you have not listened to if you're not a Patreon subscriber, that you can hear us yak about all sorts of things, including our commentary episodes, which are very, very funny. But that just about does it for us. Happy holidays, everyone, and the body count will continue. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.